The moment the bank officer looked me in the eye and said, "Your credit score is too damaged. We can't approve you," something inside me snapped. I could feel the air in the room get heavier, like the walls were closing in. My hands were shaking, my throat was dry, my heart was pounding so loud I thought everyone could hear it. This was the third rejection. The third. And this one mattered the most, because if this loan didn't go through, I wasn't just losing a house, I was losing everything. But what happened next, after a small bottle of anointing oil touched my hands, still doesn't make sense to me. How could something spiritual change something as physical as a credit score? Before everything fell apart, my life was simple. Not perfect, but stable. I worked as a customer service representative for a logistics company. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. I had a small apartment, a reliable car, and just enough savings to dream. And my biggest dream? To own a home. Not a mansion, not something flashy, just a place I could call mine. A place where I could finally breathe without the fear of rent going up every year. A place where I could build something permanent. Every night, I would scroll through listings, picture myself in those kitchens, those living rooms. I even had a folder on my phone labeled "My Future Home." That dream kept me going, through long shifts, through rude customers, through exhaustion, because I believed one day it would happen. It started with one mistake. Just one. A medical bill I didn't know about. Apparently, a year earlier, I had gone to urgent care, paid what I thought was everything, but a portion of the bill slipped through the cracks. No calls, no emails, just silence. Until one day, I checked my credit score, and my stomach dropped. It had fallen, hard, over 120 points. I thought it was a glitch. It wasn't. That single unpaid bill had gone to collections. And it didn't stop there. Late payments I thought were harmless suddenly mattered. Old debts I ignored came back to life. It was like my entire financial past had decided to attack me all at once. And just like that, my dream of owning a home shattered. I tried to fix it. I really did. I called the collections agency, paid the debt immediately. I disputed the report. I begged them to remove it. Nothing worked. Then came the first bank rejection. Your credit profile is too risky. The second one hurt worse. We can't trust your payment history. But the third one, that one destroyed me. Because I had already found the house, a small, beautiful place, 2 bedrooms, quiet neighborhood, sunlight pouring through the windows. It felt like it was waiting for me. The seller gave me 7 days to secure financing. 7. I remember sitting in my car after that third rejection, staring at the steering wheel. My chest felt tight. My eyes burned. I whispered to myself, "This can't be happening." But it was. In 7 days, I would lose the house and everything I had hoped for. On the 6th day, I broke. I didn't have strength left. No more calls to make, no more plans, no more hope. I went to church that evening, not because I had faith, but because I had nowhere else to go. I sat in the back, silent, empty. Then the pastor said something that made me freeze. He said, "Some of you are fighting battles that look financial, but they are spiritual." I felt that, deep. Then he said, "What you cannot fix with effort, God can fix with surrender." I didn't even realize when the tears started falling.
At the end of the service, they handed out small bottles of anointing oil. I held mine tightly. That night, I got home, turned off the lights, and sat on the floor. For the first time in my life, I didn't pray politely. I prayed desperately. I said, God, I have tried everything. I have called every number. I have done everything I know how to do, and it's not enough. I can't fix this. I surrender. If you don't step in, I'm going to lose everything. Then a verse came to my mind. With man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. I opened the bottle, rubbed the oil into my hands, and whispered, God, I give this to you. The next morning, something strange happened. I woke up earlier than usual. No alarm, just awake. And I felt different. Not excited, not confident, but calm. Too calm almost, like the battle wasn't mine anymore. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something told me to pick up. Hello? The voice on the other end said, This is Sarah from a lending office. We received your application and we'd like to take another look. I paused, confused. I've already been denied. I know, but something in your file stood out. Can you come in today? I didn't understand, but I went. When I sat down with her, she looked at me and said, I don't know how to explain this, but your credit report looks different. My heart skipped. What do you mean? She turned the screen toward me. The collections account? Gone. The late payments? Updated.
My score? Higher. Significantly higher. I stared at the screen. My hands started shaking again. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was disbelief. I didn't do this, I whispered. She smiled. Well, whatever happened, it changed everything. 2 hours later, I was approved. Not just approved, approved with better terms than I expected. Lower interest, lower monthly payment. I walked out of that office feeling like I was floating. But that wasn't even the real miracle. A week later, the seller called. They said, we had another offer, higher than yours, but for some reason, we felt led to choose you. I couldn't speak, because in that moment, I realized something. God didn't just fix my credit. He positioned me. He aligned everything. He didn't just answer my prayer. He exceeded it. Today, I'm sitting in my living room, in my house, the same house I almost lost. Sunlight still pours through the windows, just like I imagined. But now, it means more, because I know I didn't get here alone. And every time I look at my hands, I remember that night, the night I stopped fighting and started surrendering. So if you're watching this right now and you feel like everything is falling apart, if the numbers don't make sense, if the doors keep closing, if you've tried everything, let me tell you something. You are not at the end. You are at the turning point. Because what you cannot fix, God can, but only when you let go. If this story touched you, subscribe to Bethel Stories for more powerful testimonies, because your story might be next. For a while, I didn't tell anyone, not because I was ashamed, but because I didn't even understand what had happened. How do you explain something like that? How do you tell someone that numbers on a screen, numbers controlled by systems, algorithms, and institutions, just changed? I tried to make sense of it logically. Maybe it was a delayed update. Maybe the system corrected itself. Maybe, but deep down, I knew this wasn't normal. Because I had checked my report the night before. Everything was still there. Every mistake, every mark, every reminder of failure. But now, It was like someone had gone into my past and rewritten it. A few days after I moved in, the doubt came. Not loud, not aggressive, just subtle, whispering. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe you're exaggerating. Maybe this has nothing to do with God. I remember sitting on my couch one evening, staring at the approval documents, reading them over and over, looking for something, anything that could explain it. Because if this wasn't God, then I didn't know what it was. But if it was God, then that meant something bigger, something deeper, something that required more from me. And that thought scared me. 3 weeks later, I got the confirmation I didn't even know I needed. I received a letter in the mail from one of the credit agencies. My heart started racing as I opened it. Inside it said, "After further review, certain items on your report have been updated due to new information received." That was it. No details, no explanation, just updated. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it felt like God was saying, "You don't need the details, just trust me." And in that moment, the doubt disappeared. That night, I sat quietly in my new home. No music, no phone, just silence. And I realized something that changed everything. This story was never about my credit score. It was about control. I had been holding on so tightly, trying to fix everything, trying to manage every outcome, trying to force doors open. But the moment I let go, the moment I surrendered, that's when things shifted, not just around me, but inside me. About 2 months after I moved in, something else happened, something I didn't pray for, something I didn't expect. I got a call from my job. My manager said, "Hey, we've been reviewing performance, and your name came up." I froze, because usually that wasn't good news. But then she said, "We're promoting you." I blinked.
What? You've been consistent, reliable, and we think you're ready for more. My salary increased significantly, enough to not just cover my mortgage comfortably, but to actually save, to breathe, to live. I hung up the phone and just sat there, speechless, because now it was undeniable. This wasn't luck. This wasn't timing. This was alignment. 14. The full picture. God's plan was bigger. Looking back now, I see it clearly. If my credit had never dropped, I might have rushed into a different house, a worse deal, a higher payment, more stress. If everything had gone perfectly the first time, I wouldn't have learned how to surrender. I wouldn't have experienced that moment on the floor where I finally let God take control. And if that hadn't happened, I would still be trying to fix everything on my own, still carrying weight I was never meant to carry. God didn't just fix my situation, He restructured my life. So let me ask you something. What are you holding on to right now? What situation are you trying to fix by yourself? Is it money? Is it your job? Is it your family? Is it something you've been fighting for so long you don't even remember what peace feels like anymore? Listen to me carefully, because I've been where you are, and I know what it feels like. The pressure, the fear, the exhaustion. But I also know this. The moment you surrender is the moment things begin to shift. Not always instantly, not always the way you expect, but always for your good. Today, when people walk into my home, they compliment it. They say it's beautiful. They say it feels peaceful. They say it feels different. And I just smile because they don't know the full story. They don't know what almost happened. They don't know how close I was to losing it all. But you do. And that's why I'm sharing this with you. Because this isn't just my testimony. It's proof. Proof that God can step into situations that look impossible and rewrite them completely. So if you're in the fire right now,
if everything feels like it's falling apart, if the doors keep closing. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. And most importantly, don't hold on too tight. Because sometimes the breakthrough doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from letting go. If this story spoke to you, subscribe to Bethel Stories for more powerful, life-changing testimonies. Because your miracle might already be in motion. There's something I didn't understand back then, something I only realized much later. The battle I was fighting was never just financial. It felt like numbers. It looked like numbers. But it wasn't numbers. It was pressure. It was fear. It was the weight of feeling like I was falling behind in life, like everyone else was moving forward, buying homes, building stability, living the life I had planned for myself, and I was stuck. And that kind of pressure, it does something to you. It makes you rush. It makes you panic. It makes you settle. But what I didn't see at the time was that God was protecting me from making a permanent decision in a temporary state of panic. There's a part of this story I've never shared before. 3 days before that church service, I almost gave up completely. Not emotionally, practically. I had a backup plan, a dangerous one. I was this close to taking out a high-interest private loan, the kind that looks like help, but traps you later. I remember sitting at my kitchen table, laptop open, application filled out. All I had to do was click submit, and I would have gotten the money. Fast, easy, approved. But something didn't feel right. I couldn't explain it. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. Just a quiet resistance. So I closed the laptop and said, I'll think about it tomorrow. That tomorrow led me to church. That church led me to the oil. That oil led me to surrender. And that surrender changed everything. If I had clicked that button, I would still be paying for it today. For a long time, I thought the oil was the miracle, but it wasn't. The oil was just a symbol, a physical action representing a spiritual decision. It wasn't about what was in the bottle.
It was about what was happening in my heart. That moment when I said, God, I can't do this anymore. You take it. That was the real turning point. The oil didn't change my credit score. My surrender did. And God responded to that surrender in a way I never could have predicted. Everything changed after that. Not just my situation, my mindset. I don't panic the same way anymore. I don't chase things the same way anymore. I don't force doors open. Because now I understand something I didn't understand before. Not every closed door is rejection. Some doors are closed for your protection. And when God opens a door, you won't have to break it down. It will open with peace. People love dramatic miracles, the sudden ones, the shocking ones, the ones that make you say, wow. But there are quieter miracles too, the kind you don't notice at first, like the fact that since that day, I've never missed a payment, not once. Opportunities started finding me, not because I was chasing them, but because I was aligned. Peace became normal, not panic. Clarity became normal, not confusion. And that might be the greatest miracle of all. One evening, about 6 months later, I went back to that same church, sat in the same spot, back row, same place where I broke down, same place where I surrendered. But this time, I wasn't empty. I was full, grateful, at peace. The pastor said something again that night that hit me even harder than before. He said, when God restores you, He doesn't just bring you back to where you were. He brings you to a better place. I smiled because I was living proof of that. So, if you're watching this right now, let me speak directly to you, not as a storyteller,
but as someone who has been there. If you're tired, if you've tried everything, if the situation doesn't make sense, if the numbers don't add up, if the doors keep closing, pause, breathe, and ask yourself one question. Have I truly surrendered this, or am I still trying to control it? Because sometimes the breakthrough is not waiting on more effort, it's waiting on your release. If this story touched something inside you, if it reminded you that you are not alone, if it gave you even a little hope, then this is your moment. Comment below, "I surrender it to God," and watch what happens next. Because the same God who stepped into my situation is still moving today. Believe to subscribe to Bethel Stories for more powerful, life-changing testimonies, because your story is not over. In fact, it might just be beginning.